Good afternoon, I'm Milton Walker with the Midday News. A special welcome if you are watching on onespotmedia.com. Jamaica's airports are feeling the effects of the fallout due to the COVID-19 pandemic with reduced passenger numbers. But that is expected to get even worse following the recent travel restrictions announced by the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, earlier this week. Prince Moore reports.
Jamaica, a country highly dependent on tourism, is now feeling the negative impacts from the global tourism industry as fewer people are traveling due to fear of the COVID-19 pandemic. Globally, over 60 million people have contracted the respiratory illness. The United Nations Conference on Trade and Development in July said the global tourism industry could lose $1.2 trillion, or 1.5% of the global gross domestic product (GDP), which also has the possibility of rising to $2.2 trillion. However, locally, the MBJ Airports Limited, which manages the Sangster International Airport in Montego Bay, St. James, says it has been significantly affected by loss of passenger traffic due to the COVID-19 pandemic.
From January to March, we had much higher passenger numbers, but once the pandemic started, since that time we have had just over 300,000 passengers through Montego Bay.
CEO of MBJ, Shane Monroe, says the airport has been seeing gradual improvement in arrivals since this month and hopes this will continue for the winter tourist season.
Right now we are perhaps just over 20%, 25% in the previous month in terms of traffic. We continue to see recovery, and that a lot depends on what's happening in our source markets with travel restrictions and the quarantine measures.
However, with the CDC issuing a level 4 travel restriction, Mr. Monroe says it could spell trouble.
We are concerned about the CDC ranking, and a similar situation is happening in the UK market as well. They are on lockdown now, but Jamaica was on a travel corridor and they are no longer on that list. So these things affect the ability of passengers to travel, but we are hopeful that that situation will continue to improve, and with the management of the COVID situation here, if we can keep that under control, then we expect that passengers will still have the confidence to travel during the winter season.
Prince Moore, TVJ News.
A 75-year-old St. James man is the latest person to die from COVID-19 in Jamaica. The country's COVID-19 death toll now stands at 248. The Ministry of Health says 2 more deaths are being investigated. Meanwhile, 53 new COVID-19 cases have been confirmed. The country's case count now stands at 10,541. Their ages range from 5 to 87 years old. The latest data on confirmed COVID-19 cases in Latin America and the Caribbean are still trending upwards. According to the Johns Hopkins Coronavirus Resource Center, Brazil has the highest number of confirmed COVID-19 cases with a record of more than 6.16 million. The Dominican Republic has the most confirmed cases among Caribbean countries with more than 139,000. Jamaica and Haiti has 10,541 and 9,248 cases respectively, while Guadeloupe has 8,344 cases. Cuba currently stands at 8,026, Bahamas 7,469, Trinidad and Tobago 6,503, and Belize at 5,423 cases. Martinique has 5,413 cases, while Suriname has recorded 5,305 cases. Guyana 5,236, Aruba 4,778, and Saint Martin at 1,036. Other countries in the region with confirmed COVID-19 cases below the 1,000 mark are Turks and Caicos with 746, St. Martin 690, Cayman Islands 269, Barbados 263, Bermuda 239, St. Lucia 235, and Antigua and Barbuda 140. Countries which have recorded less than 100 cases include St. Vincent and the Grenadines 84, Dominica 77, Grenada 41, St. Kitts and Nevis 22, Montserrat 13, and Anguilla with 4 cases. Major crimes are down in Trelawney, but the police say they know of another crime which is rising: domestic violence. It's forced the division to revise its approach to crime, as officers say the lack of basic dispute resolution skills in and outside the home is at the root of the problem. Herman Green has the details.
According to the JCF Statistics and Information Management Unit, serious crimes in Trelawney have been lower this year compared to 2019. Superintendent Kirk Ricketts of the Trelawney Police reiterated that gang-related crimes, including murders and shootings, are down 23% and 45% respectively compared with the previous year.
However, the non-gang in terms of domestic issues, argument conflicts, revenge reprisals, those are the kind of violent incidents where we are faced within the parish. And this in itself brings some amount of challenge for us.
He says while the parish had its share of domestic disputes in the past, those reports have increased since March of this year. But Superintendent Ricketts says they are not surprised.
We did anticipate, on the onset of COVID, that with persons now forced to cohabitate in a way, persons losing their jobs, both the man and the woman losing their jobs and now being forced to be at home together, that there could have been an increase in violence at the domestic level.
But in addition to disputes within households, the cops say simple disagreements between residents have resulted in major threats and even turning bloody at times. He surmises that the inability to resolve conflicts on their own, both in and outside the home, is at the root of the problem, and so the way they respond to such reports is now being revised.
What we want to do is to follow the matter. Even after the first response by the police, we want to follow the matter through to what we hope to be a natural conclusion to the situation. So it simply means that you will see the police returning to the location and maybe different police officers.
The cops are also working with the church and the Lay Magistrates Association to provide different forms of intervention in these cases. Herman Green, TVJ News.
National Security Minister Dr. Horace Chang says the Firearms Act must be modernized. Dr. Chang argues that it's unacceptable that more than 1,000 Jamaicans are murdered each year by the gun, yet the country has outdated gun laws.
1,430, every year we lose 1,000. Yet we don't have a modern Firearms Act. It's going to the meet. So lying around here, we have activated, and I'll get it in the House and get it through Parliament in this parliamentary year, which means by March.
The Security Minister was at a ceremony at the Police Commissioner's office on Wednesday afternoon. The function was to award the police divisions which performed well over the last year. Dr. Chang praised the officers and reaffirmed the government's commitment to providing them with tools necessary to carry out their duties.
Done to give the police the tools to develop into the police force they want, the modern police force. Because the officers are there, the leadership are there, they have the talent, and in all critical areas, the country failed to deliver. And we are changing that position.
It's time now for a break. Stay with us. More stories when we return. Welcome back. Continuing the news. Contention is brewing over a piece of property on Old Harbour Road in St. Catherine between residents and the Sugar Company of Jamaica, SCJ Holdings. Recently, the SCJ served a 1-month notice on the residents who currently occupy the land to relocate. But the residents are protesting against the company's decision. The details in this report.
This is the property at the center of the controversy. It is owned by the Sugar Company of Jamaica, SCJ Holdings. According to the residents who currently occupy the land, the company sold the property behind their backs and then served them a 1-month's notice to relocate.
I have lived on this land from 1987. And now they want to tell me that I am a squatter on the land. If I occupy that land from 1987, it's somehow you can come and say to me if I interested to purchase the land. You just can't come and say, boy, you're squatters, you have to come off a land. If you occupy a piece of land, it's full time they come to you and find out how you can go about it to purchase the land or lease the land or so forth. You understand? It's not the bulldozer or brute force to come and get rid of the lower class people. Nothing don't go so.
Most of the residents are former employees of a company who were made redundant. Miriam Asphalt is one of them.
Work with SCJ for how many years? 230 plant can do everything. I'm to my foot here. When my friend in a cane piece and leak out, and then come on me yard, take me TRN, my ID, my NIS and everything, and pitch down so then go and locate me somewhere. And until now, till I receive the letter, them don't locate me nowhere. So I want to know where me must go.
Another former employee, Alric Johnson, says he has tried an alternative, but
I work with them and them draw NST money for me. I want to get NST said they don't have nothing to show, so them draw money, then they get money from them and all of these things.
And so the residents are putting up resistance.
We're not moving until some agreement make and say that these people, these citizens of Jamaica, is relocated and relocated properly, not just bitch up something and dash out from them.
Shane Masters, TVJ News.
The St Andrews Southwest Member of Parliament, Angela Brown-Burke, could create political history if she becomes the chairman of the People's National Party, the PNP, this weekend. She would be the first female chairman of the party. Dr. Brown-Burke is being challenged for the position by East Kingston MP Philip Paulwell at the PNP's National Executive Council meeting to be held on Sunday. Speaking on the morning agenda on Power 106, Dr. Brown-Burke says she has what it takes to revive the 82-year-old party.
Having been a canvasser, a group member, working at every single level of the People's National Party since my days in school at Woolmer High. And so what that means, as a member of the PNPYO, as a member of the women's movement, one with a very close relationship with the NW, it means that I am probably best able to really create that balance of chairman for all, which is the slogan that I have chosen.
Dr. Brown-Burke believes a major contributor to the division within the party is linked to fake social media accounts. She adds that the users seek to create mischief and are not aligned to the party.
And we can actually separate those individuals, those Facebook accounts that are fake pages that are simply meant to create this level of division, some of whom are not even members of the party, some are not even affiliated to anyone in the party.
A new chairman of the party will be elected on Sunday, November 29 at Jamaica College, Olop Road. Education Minister Favour Williams has responded to concerns raised by parents about the need for an email address to process applications for the Own Your Own Device incentive program. In order to complete the application process, parents must have an email address. Speaking at the post-cabinet media briefing yesterday, Ms. Williams explained that the vouchers will be sent via email.
Email is a requirement because we will be issuing the e-vouchers to the email, and that is what the parent or guardian would be able to take to the selected vendor in order to complete the transaction. What we have said is for those, an email is easy to create, but for those persons who do not have one, we're suggesting that you use a family member.
In news overseas, Russia's entry to the vaccine race has materialized with the latest data released by its backers suggesting it's highly effective. More from the CNN.
Well, Russia's coronavirus vaccine, Sputnik V, is over 95% effective, according to latest interim data released by its Kremlin-backed developers. An update on its third phase human trials said that high level of efficacy was observed 42 days after the first dose of the vaccine had been administered. After 28 days, efficacy was put at 91.4%. Obviously, both those results have to be independently verified. In the meantime, no unexpected adverse effects were reported among the trial participants, according to that interim data. Russia says it's pricing the vaccine at less than $10 a dose for international markets, making it one of the cheaper vaccine options that may soon become available worldwide. Sputnik V is, of course, controversial because it was the first vaccine back in August to be approved for public use in any country, even before human trials had ended. Thousands already of frontline healthcare workers and teachers in Russia have been vaccinated with it, along with several high-profile political figures here. The Kremlin, though, says the Russian president himself, Vladimir Putin, has not yet taken the vaccine. The president would not be able to use an uncertified vaccine, a spokesman told reporters earlier today. That, he said, would be impossible.
In sports, thousands of fans are paying their final respects to Argentine football legend Diego Maradona at the presidential palace in Buenos Aires. 3 days of national mourning have begun in Argentina after the national hero died following a heart attack on Wednesday at the age of 60. Some wept, others blew kisses and said prayers as they filed past the coffin being displayed at the Casa Rosada. 1 million people are expected to visit his casket. Maradona's coffin, draped in Argentina's national flag and football shirt, bearing his trademark number 10 on the back, is expected to be on public display until Thursday afternoon. There were 10 scenes when the Casa Rosada opened its doors as some fans pushed and shoved against the barriers, which were lined with security forces. His family and former teammates took part in a private ceremony earlier in the day. And that's Midday News. I'm Milton Walker. Join us at 7 for Primetime News. On behalf of the news, sports and production teams, have a good afternoon.